Dear friends, welcome to next video on research knowledge. All of you know that research paper is outcome of day and night efforts of researchers. Researchers are spending a lot of time to work on the problem, to find out the solution, to perform the experimental work, analytical work, to validate the numerical results. Then they are writing papers and they are getting the publication based on that research. So in this world, many researchers are working day and night to write research papers. But at the end, all of you know that it is important that what is outcome of that research, how that research is benefited to the society, what is the impact of that research on the society, on the research community. So to measure this impact, influence of research on the society or research community, there are few indicators decided by the database agencies which will help us to measure the impact or influence of researchers in the research community. Those indicators or metrics are number of citations that research papers is getting, what is H index of that author, and what is i10 index of that author. These are the three impact indicators or metrics to see the influence of researchers in the research community. So here I have just taken two examples, two snapshot of one is Google Scholar profile and one is Scopus profile. If you look at carefully both the profile, you will find out there are few statistics and information. So there are list of papers that author publish, you will find here, and on the right part you will find there are citations, total citations, H index, i10 index. This is of Google profile. On the right part there is a snapshot of Scopus profile. Here also you will find the number of citations, number of documents where these citations are or these papers are cited, then H index. So on every database like Google Scholar, Scopus, Web of Science, you will find these indicators which decide what is the influence of that author on the research community, right? So we have to understand few parameters here. What is this H index is, citation is, and i10 index is. These three parameters are important. Of course, i10 index is given by only Google Scholar, not by Scopus. Internationally, globally, if you want to compare the researchers, if you want to see the impact of researchers, the only indicator is H index of that author and number of citations that author received. So I will tell you this with the help of simple example. I will try to explain you what is H index is. Of course, all of you know that citations, if your paper is receiving the citations, automatically it is updated on your Google profile as well as Scopus profile. But many times it is confusion among the researchers that what is H index and how it is calculated. So if you take one simple example, H index is on the name of Hirsch index. Actually it is also called as H index. It is a measure of individual researchers to see their productivity and impact. This is measure of productivity or impact of that researcher on the research community. If you want to see the definition how this H index is calculated, it is a simple calculation where suppose if any researcher is published n number of papers, H index, in H index that H represent H number of papers of that researchers have been cited at least H times. H number of papers of that researchers have been cited at least H times. Sometimes it is difficult to understand this definition with the words. So here I will give you one simple example to understand how the H index is being calculated. Suppose if you consider one XYZ author who has published 7 papers. So here paper numbers are there 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 with some titles. These are the titles of paper. These are the published years. And these are the citations with that each paper received. So this is the table, right? Now very first thing is, if you arrange all these papers in the descending order of their citations received. So if you look at here 100, 52, 12, 22 are the citations of that particular paper. If you arrange these citations in decreasing order, right? So if you arrange this on decreasing order like this, now see this. Now this is 100, then 52, 36, 22, 12, 7 and 5. The citations are in decreasing order. The paper which got the highest citation is labeled as a paper number 1. Then 52 is paper number 2 like this. Paper number, you look at the paper number and number of citations. Paper number 3, 36, 4, 22, 5, 12. 6 number paper have citation 7. And 7 number paper has a citation 5, right? So if you look at this row, paper number 6, here you can see that paper number is 6 and citations are 7. It means citations are either equal to paper number or more than paper number. H number of paper has got the H citations. That is the meaning of this statement. So if paper number is 6 and that paper has got the citation 7, it means more than the paper number. But in the last row, the paper number is 7 but citations are 5. It means here this H is not equal to this citation, it is less than H. So H index of this author is 6. This is H index of this XYZ author because up to paper number 6 that author has citations more than the paper number. This is H index. For example, if somebody is having, suppose H index is 50. What does it mean? It means that author has 50 papers which has citations more than 50. That is the meaning of H index, right? So if you see the few profiles of highest H index in the world, just as an example, I have taken the profile of Bharat Ratna, Dr. C.N.R. Rao, who is a professor of chemistry and got the Bharat Ratna from India. If you look at his Google profile on the right hand side, number of citations are 1,15,368. H index is 157. H index is 157. It means Professor C.N.R. Rao has published 157 papers with the more than 157 citations out of whatever number of papers he has published. Out of those papers, there are 157 papers which has citations more than 157. So what is the maximum value of H index then? So H index can be maximum equal to number of papers published by that author. If suppose author has published 1000 papers, the maximum H index that author will receive is 1000, not more than 1000. So H index maximum always equal to number of papers. There is one more indicator which is given by only Google Scholar, and that is i10 index. I10 index means these number of papers have citations more than 10. The total count of papers having citations more than 10 is called as I10 index. It means if you look at the profile of Professor C.N.R. Rao, I10 index is 1192. It means Professor C.N.R. Rao have the 1192 papers which has citations more than 10. Right? So this is H index, and if H index is high, it means researchers all over the world are referring your papers for their research work. They are citing your paper for research work. It means there is a high impact of your research on the society or community. So if you want to compare any researchers or academicians, the best way or major mechanism to compare the researcher is their H index. If H index is high, it means influence of the research of that researcher is very high on the society. Right? H index are compiled and calculated by indexing and abstracting system. As I told you initially, there are three database systems, indexing systems, and those are Web of Science, Scopus, or Google Scholar. Google Scholar is considering all type of citations, that is subscribed journals, Scopus index, Web of Science index, paid journals, or any article which is citing your research. All those are considered by Google Scholar. But in Web of Science and Scopus, all citations are not considered. Only citations by the index journals are considered while calculating number of citations and H index of author. That's why if you compare the profile of Google Scholar and Scopus, you will find that, for example, this is my profile. As per Google Scholar, number of citations are 3099, H index is 29, and I10 index is 63. It means 29 papers are there I have published which has citations more than 29. There are 63 papers I have published which has more than 10 citations. But if you compare this profile with the Scopus profile, you will see that H index is 24. It means I have 24 papers with more than 24 citations. So 29 and 24, this H index is not matching because Google Scholar is considering all type of citations, whereas Scopus is considering only Scopus or Web of Science index citations. That's why this number will always differ. Here citations are 3099, here citation are 2080, because these 2080 are of only index journal in Scopus and Web of Science. So at the end we can close this with the remark that if your H index is high, your impact on the society, impact on the research community is very high. So always the author with high H index is considered as a high influenced researcher in the society. Okay, I hope all of you understand what is H index is. Thank you very much. In the next video we will come with the other information about the research.